All right. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. My name is Stephanie Steffer. I'm the business director with CVI Connect. And prior to this role, I was just explaining, I was a teacher for the visually impaired, and that was the role I was in as we were developing the system. I'm one of the founding teachers of the platform. And today I just want to show you how I've been able to utilize the system as a teacher for the visually impaired with my interdisciplinary teams to ensure our learners had access. So first thing I want to mention is that I have done a lot of my research in CVI under a lot of different ways, because I know there's the brain-based visual impairment, there's the cerebral visual impairment mentality, but a lot of what I've based my intervention strategies off of has been Dr. Roman's work, and so I stick with the 3 elements of identification that she has identified, which are the eye exam that doesn't explain the child's functional use of vision, the history of the trauma to the brain, as well as those 10 visual and behavioral characteristics that she identifies. If you're not familiar, after you've identified those, Christine Roman suggests we complete the CVI range. And then through that, you would get a score. On the bottom, we have an image for the rating from 0 to 10, and that would tell us where they're at on the CVI range. So a child in the scores of a 0 to 1 is having less use of functional vision throughout their day, and then moving up into a 9-10 is what we call phase 3, and they would have higher use of functional vision. And so by using that score, then, this is really quick and fast because I want to get into the actual CVI Connect system, but using that, then that puts the child into one of these 3 phases. And it's really important that I mention this because that's how we house our activities in the system, is by these 3 phases. And so knowing where your child is in that baseline data that you gather from the CVI range is really helpful in helping you choose which activities to start with before using the system. So when you go into CVI Connect Pro, each teacher gets a unique login, so every teacher that's working in your district or on your system can have access to it. And you can go to this link here, which is called Training Modules. It'll take you over to our site here that has a variety of training modules. These were put together through a grant that we're working on with Western Michigan University through OSEP. They earned the Stepping Up Technology. Whoa, it didn't share screens. Oh no. It's not switching over to the other screen. You know why? Let me see if I end show. There we go. All right. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I appreciate it. So these learning modules were created with Western Michigan University, and there are a variety of videos that support you not only in using the tool, but in CVI in general. And we've put these together for now for use of the system, but eventually after Western completes their efficacy study through Stepping Up Technology, they will be available for free through the public to use as well. So right now we're still testing those and editing them throughout the grant process, but it's something that's available in the system for our users to access. Then on the web-based dashboard, from the very top here, you'll see a Students tab. So we're going to click on that. And each teacher that has access to the system would see their unique login. So the way that you purchase the system is it's a per student subscription. And every single provider that is working with that child has access to it if they would like. So we really encourage the speech, PT, OT, classroom teachers, TVIs, family, everyone that it has an iPad, can download the app, have their own unique login, and they're only going to access their students that they work with. So while all of us here might be in one district together, but we're going to have intermingled caseloads, right? I'm only going to see mine, you're only going to see your caseload, et cetera. But the district's going to have all of our students in that one big hashpodge that they have all together, if that makes sense. Then you can click on your student's link, and this is going to open up their notebook. Typical demographic page, if you scroll down, this is where you would get their user ID, and this is what would be sent home for the families to access the iPad app at home so they can practice the activities and give the child the opportunities to use their vision at home. Next page is that team page. This is where you can assign additional providers to be working with the child. The next tab is the CVI range. Dr. Roman has given us privileges to actually have her range paperwork in here, so you can actually complete all of your CVI range information here online and score all of your students' assessments here, keep it over time so you can see how this child is progressing from assessment to assessment. What's really cool is if you're a little less comfortable with completing this assessment, you can click this Show Details box, and when you do, all of her scoring criteria that she's published in her book are available here as well. So you no longer have to flip back and forth. I know for me, I have my CVI range endorsement, and I still want to look at this information just to be sure that I'm scoring them the way I want to. And so it's really helpful to have that available, not only for you if you're familiar with CVI, but other team members who may not be as comfortable with the diagnosis and what that score means when you say, oh, they got an R in this section. They might not know what that means. They can click that Show Details and have a little bit more information. On the far right, there's this comment box here too. Each section has a comment box, so if you wanted to add a note about what the parent said, what you observed, why you scored it the way you did, you can keep that in there. I found that's really helpful for me to be more consistent from assessment to assessment. When I go to reassess the child, I can pull up those notes and see what did they do the last time that I've noticed maybe is different during my interactions with them, or I want to go back and try that exact same thing again and see if we get a different response from them, that type of thing. And rating 2 is also on here, also with the Show Details button, so you could populate that out and see all of her scoring criteria as well. Moving down the list, our next tab is the Plans and Assessments page. And so on here, you can upload a wide variety, and this is just something that is available if you want to use it. We've had some districts who have chosen not to use this part of it just because they have other places to keep this information in their IEP system. But for me, I know as we were transitioning kids from provider to provider, as our caseloads changed sometimes throughout the school year or from year to year, it was getting crazy when not knowing where everything was being kept. So for me, it was really nice to have everything all in one place. So here you can see we have the IEP goal progress note, we have a general care team note, functional vision evaluation summary, you can put an orientation mobility evaluation in here, just a general IEP at a glance, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of opportunities for you to download these templates or upload files directly. So you could upload and attach the IEP to this file and keep it all in one place if you wanted to. Similarly, when I get into the session data, just in case I forget to mention it, you can download those reports as well and upload those to your IEP system if your IEP system allows you to upload images and PDFs as well. So this next tab is our Activities tab. And so this is where you would assign or remove the activities that you thought were best fit for your child. So let's talk a little bit more about these. I'm going to move over to the PowerPoint again. And so in our library, we have a whole selection of activities that are available for you guys to choose from. Like I said, we've got activities in phases 1, 2, and 3 that you can select from. I, in Michigan, worked with kids from birth to 26, so a wide variety of ages that we were working with. I've got some that are to discuss expanded core and the different content expectations. You select the student you want to work with, and then their unique library would load up. So just a minute ago, you saw that I had the student who only had like 5 activities. When I would click on their name, only those 5 activities would load instead of the entire library, so that if the parents were to load in, they wouldn't get the whole library. They're only going to get the 5 that you chose were best fit for them to have access to. Okay, in addition, we have our activity designer, so you can do something like this. I had a student who had last year in the fall was given the Scholastic magazine on this GE chipmunk, and we are able to use the CVI Connect activity designer to create this activity where we had the chipmunk isolated, and then every time there was text in the magazine that we wanted them to read, we had that on a separate page. This page was read. The pages with text were read to the student, so that was not expected for them to read that page by themselves. They could tap on the sentences and it would be read to them. Then in the article, it talked about the differences between chipmunks and squirrels. So we laid them next to each other and we did highlighting of the different things that were mentioned in the article of the different features. They talked about their ears and how similar those were. And then I'm going to move this along. Talked about their arms and legs, and then the stripes down the chipmunk's back. and the squirrels have the bushy tails. And so then we compared to other similar animals and just to see if they could continue to find that chipmunk. So again, we had a variety of ways for the child to engage with their peers, the same content, but in an accessible manner because we were adapting it on the machine for them. In the Activity Designer, we have a variety of different ways for you to individualize your students' activities. The biggest thing that I think people like to be able to access is that you can upload your own images and videos that are things that your student is familiar with. Because we know with kids with CVI, it generally has to be that individualization. Yes? No, so it's not scanning in. So like in that Scholastic magazine, I went and found the images, right. I went and found those images and I created it. But we have a student who really liked this Minnie Mouse toy, and we were working, she was beginning phase 2 on that, bridging the gap from the 3-dimensional object that we knew she liked to the 2-dimensional image and starting to work on choice making through these images. And so one of the things we did was we put that image on the screen, and when we just had the picture of the toy, even though the whole background was black, we found that she wasn't engaging with it. So instead we took a video of the Minnie Mouse moving and adding a little bit more illustration to it, which then got her attention. So then we got that initial look for her so that we could then give her the response of, here's Minnie Mouse. So we were getting that initial reaction of first you look at it, then you get it, and getting that idea down of how that system works so that eventually we could work towards choice making of those 2D images. And now we can give those to her in an array of 4 images. They're stills, they don't have to be moving or anything. We don't have to have videos anymore. So now she's able to make choices out of an array of 4 of her preferred toys that she likes using the system. But we do have the option for you can create it so if they touch something happens. You can make it so if they look at something, it happens. If they say a word, you can have it listen to the child if they have the ability to use speech. You can have it like older kids who are maybe reading and they read off the word that's on the page, you could have it respond to that. Lots of opportunities for special effects like lights and movement and things like that. So it's really easy to add things in. It works kind of like a PowerPoint would be on an iPad where you just click the plus and then select what you want to add into it, move it around and make it bigger and smaller however you need. So this is an example of the Activity Designer. I've clicked that plus, and then here are my options to add an image, a shape, text, a special effect, and then all the other options that we have. One of the other things that I didn't mention in the last slide on our Activity Designer that we have is a drawing board. And so you can actually upload an image that you want from something that's familiar with them onto a drawing board, and then you can draw on the image itself. So fast forward here. So in this case, we were working on different places in the kitchen to put things. We were talking about locations for an orientation mobility lesson. And so we had to talk about items that go in the fridge versus the freezer. And so we were highlighting where it was at in the school's freezer versus fridge. And so highlighting those different sections during our conversation. What was really cool is during the lesson, I could actually then pull up the data to see, are they looking while I'm actually running this activity, or are they looking away from the screen? Which leads me into the next portion. So while these activities are running on the activity, or on the iPad rather, we have the forward-facing camera on the iPad collecting their looking behavior. So whether the child is looking or looking away. Tomorrow's session at 4:30, we are doing showing you guys the next step that we're getting ready to launch, where we're actually going to look at where they're looking at on the screen. I'll get into that in a little bit more information. But right now, we're really giving you the information about the looking behaviors of looking at the screen versus looking away. And then you can pull, so let's say we ran this activity, this color glow red. Just lots of lights moving around. This is a phase 1 activity for a child, probably in their one of their preferential fields. And then we would get a data page like this that shows me the total number of looks they had. The teacher commented after the session that they had an awesome attention that day, and they had a longest look of 47 seconds. So of the whole minute that the activity was run, you can tell this is just a demo student, of the minute that the session was run for, they were looking for 47 seconds. And at the bottom, you can actually see this large red graph. So they had looked away, looked away, and then they looked for the remainder of the activity to give you that visual representation of their looking behavior. So this red activity was a good fit for them. They were actually able to get that visual attention, which is what we're looking for in a phase 1 student. Then in this next activity, we can see that this red bar now displays looking away from the screen. And so now you can see that for some reason the look detection didn't start right away. You have to press the camera in the top to start it. But anyway, so this child was looking away and only had little quick glances. The green bar here is the looking at the display. And so most of the activity, they were not looking at the screen. But the teacher note says that he was in his stander and it was really loud. So now we know that potentially either the positioning or the environment were impacting his vision, because we know on the other day he was successfully able to do it. So now we have to figure out what are the circumstances that we need to make so that he can do it. Try it again in the stander when it's quiet. Try it again in the room when it's, different situations where the volume isn't as bad. So you can see if you can replicate him looking again and having great success with it. Okay, so this was what I was talking about before. Joining us tomorrow at 4:30 for our session, The Future of Look Detection. And what we're going to be able to do is taking an activity like this, and instead of just showing you the looking versus looking away, we're creating heat maps to actually show you how long they're looking and where they're looking at on the screen. So we're going to share with you how our designers have updated that data collection system. I have very lucky to work with very passionate designers and who are excited to help these kids. And one of the things I said was, I need to know where they're looking at on the screen. I need more information. And at first they thought I was a little crazy, but they actually made it work. So without attaching any external camera or anything like that, where you can use the forward-facing camera and collect data like this, it's definitely a game changer for our field. I'm really excited to share with you guys. And tomorrow, virtually, my designer will be on with us as well, so you guys can ask him some more questions about how that works and sends back over. But the system is completely HIPAA compliant. Everything is saved and stored securely so that as you're having student data, you don't have to worry about any of that transferring over. It's a lot of information in a short amount of time, and I could talk forever, but does anyone have any questions? All right. Feel free to stop by our booth. We're in the 700 row 707. I'd be happy to talk with you, or feel free to email me and we can set up a time. I know I was talking to some other ladies as well about setting up a demo with your district. If you have other people back home that might want to know more information about it, I'd be happy to schedule that with you guys and have those discussions so I can help you out. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.